First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming. My goal, what I wanted to do is with this presentation, is that a lot of people will come up to me and they'll say, "Oh, hi, John, we can't come to your event, but we'll make a donation." You know, that's great. We could sure use the money. There's no doubt about that. But it's a whole lot more than that. I'm not here for the donations. I'm here to make sure that you understand what it is that you are doing. When you hear Eileen speak today, I want you to know, I was just telling Wayne that when you hear her speak, just know that your fingerprints are all over her life. They really are. They're all over the lives of all these Lingap kids. And so what's important to me, far more than the money, is that you understand what it is that you're supporting. It's a lot deeper than just making a donation. And so for that, I wanted to look each and every one of you in the eye. I tried to talk to everybody, and I don't know if I did it or not. If I missed, I'm sorry. Catch me later. But I do want to thank you, because it wouldn't happen without you, and that's all there is to it. I'm going to go through a few quick thank yous. I want to especially recognize Richmond Brothers. They have been sponsors of ours since the very beginning. Since the very day we opened the door, Richmond Brothers have been a sponsor. Dave Richmond does a phenomenal job of supporting a whole lot of different efforts around the world. In fact, their mission statement, I had to write it down, part of the mission statement says, the mission of Richmond Brothers Incorporated is to make a difference in the world. And, I mean, that just absolutely fits. Dave is also a member of the Lingap Board of Directors. I want to thank CP Federal Credit Union. John Christ, the president of the credit union, is here today. Try to be nice to him if you can. But I do want to say something about the credit union. I'm really, really proud of having them as a sponsor for us, because if you look at the credit union and you look at all that they do good around this community, it's absolutely phenomenal. They're involved in everything. They're involved in everything. And so to be able for us to say that CP Federal Credit Union is one of our sponsors really means a lot. And so thank you, John. I'm going to just read a bunch of names of people who helped to make this event happen. So when I read your name, if you're here, Sue, for example, stand up. And you can hold the applause until we get through everybody. I want to thank Sue McCrellis. I want to thank Cindy Conan. Stay standing up. Cindy Conan. Jane Hanley. Pat Gorsica, I know he's not here. Rena Pantaleon, she's down in Atlanta, so she is not here today. Jeff Hackborn, Ron and Kay Kerber, Heather Trichka, Joy Faust, Rico Imperial. You don't need to stand up. They know who to stand up. Esther Stover. Where's Esther? Stand up. She may be standing and I just don't know it. Brandon and Bethany Weems. Bob and Joyce Gilmore. Katie Powers. Pay attention, Katie. Dawn and Doug Nicholson. Matt Nicholson. Father Jim Shaver. Mike Shore. Judy Durlam. Denise Dorr. Jerome Krakowiak. Nettie and Ray Javier. The Lingap Board of Directors, and I would specifically like to recognize Joe Walsh, who's on the board, and Joe Dom, who came all the way from Chicago for this event. Okay. So now, let's give these people a round of applause. Thank you to all of you, and especially all of you who came today. Thank you so much. But especially, most especially, Judy.
Yes!
Judy's been working on this for weeks and months, and trust me, She's been keeping me up till 3 in the morning. We've been working on this, so it would not have happened without Judy. So thank you, Judy. I thought a place to begin might be, for those of you who were not at the event last year, I'm going to give you a real quick look back in history. 2013, last year was, it was a rough year. 2013 was a very, very rough year. And I'll give you some examples. It started off with a 7.2 magnitude earthquake in Bohol. Bohol's the next island over from Cebu. That was on October 15th. And the good part of it was that it gave us an opportunity to ensure that all of our safety and evacuation procedures were up to date and everything was in place. The bad part was it just scared the daylights out of the kids. They even told me that they were more frightened during the earthquake than they were during the typhoon, which is saying a whole lot. We sustained no damage at the center, but it sure scared everybody. Then, only 3 weeks later, on November 8th, we had Typhoon Yolanda. Now, if I start getting choked up here, I apologize, I can't help it. But this event was probably the most emotional, spiritual, whatever experience of my entire life, without any question. The typhoon was headed right to, the arrow was pointing right at Toledo City. I mean, we were in a direct line for the typhoon. I was supposed to be on an airplane on my way over there, but because of the typhoon, we postponed it 1 day. So I wound up going the day after the typhoon. And fortunately, at the last minute, fortunately for us anyway, the typhoon veered to the north, and it hit the northern part of Cebu. It wiped out Tacloban over on Leyte, but then it came across, hit the northern part of Cebu. I started getting phone calls and emails, hundreds, literally hundreds. People I didn't even know were contacting us saying, how are the kids, how are the kids, how are the kids? And I couldn't answer all of them, so what we did is I got a hold of the staff and said, send me a picture proving that you're okay. Even when I told them they were okay, people didn't believe me. And so we took this picture, we are okay. And then I got to the center the next day, and the kids were very upset. While we sustained no damage at all at the center, it was still a very traumatic experience. And so what the kids did is they started preparing for some relief missions. And we did 2 relief missions. We got some money from, we are not set up to handle disaster relief. That's not what we do. But there were a few people, like the Baltimore Country Club, for example, and Doug Warnicki is from the Baltimore Country Club, and they coordinated getting us some money. And we did 2 mission reliefs. We actually prepared 1,200 relief packages. The kids worked very hard and put that all together. The commercial cooking class, specifically the boys, baked 1,200 loaves of bread. We packed them up. And the kids made up these bags. And then at 5:30 in the morning, we took our vehicle and we rented 2 other vehicles, including this truck, and we went up to the northern part of Cebu on this relief mission. Now what was interesting is the kids, even though they were pretty upset about it, it was still kind of a party. And as we were driving up there, they were doing like the Philippine equivalent of 100 bottles of beer on the wall and stuff like that. It was kind of a hoot. But then we started getting into this stuff. And we came across signs, we need food and water. I thought her eyes kind of tell the whole story. It was horrific. Now, one of the big differences between a typhoon and a tornado is, here we will say the tornado was terrible. It was a half a mile wide. It wiped out an area that was a half a mile wide and it went on forever. Well, a typhoon like Yolanda wiped out everything. Totally everything for miles and miles and miles and miles. And people who had nothing lost it. And what was especially striking to me was that there were trees down everywhere, and there wasn't a single chainsaw in sight. They don't have chainsaws. They were cutting it with knives, trying to get these trees off of the belongings that they had. So we went into various areas, and the people started lining up like this. It was very orderly. We expected it to be kind of chaos, but it wasn't. It was very orderly. And the kids handed out packages from the back of the trucks. There's a part of the story that I can't even tell you. I can't get through it. It was very difficult. So anyway, when I got back to the center, I went into my room and I started typing up on my computer something that I could send out to people telling what the relief mission was like. And some of you who I have email addresses for, if I don't have your email address, give it to me, please. And I sent it to some of you. It was really emotional. But while I was sitting there, on the way back, I told the kids that I wanted them to tell everybody who couldn't go what they experienced, what they felt like. And some of the kids, when we had socialization, some of the kids got up and just went on and on and on telling everything that they saw. Some were so choked up they couldn't speak. And then that later, 3 of them came to my room and they said, "Tito, can I talk to you?" "Sure, come on in." And they said, "We know what we want to be when we grow up. We want to grow up just like you." But what they meant was they want to be just like you, because it was you who made it possible. And this is the message that we are trying to teach the kids, that helping others is the greatest gift you can give to yourself. Meanwhile, back at the Lingap Center, every single pipe in the facility needed to be replaced. Isn't that cool? The water over there is very caustic. And what happened is the pipes, this is a relatively new facility. We opened in 2006. But it clogged the pipes up completely. We had no water at all for 3 months. Now keep in mind, the temperatures over there get up around 100 degrees plus, very humid, and we only have 100 kids. So it was a long, hot summer. And so what I needed to do was to put in a brand new filtration system and replace every single pipe. And so this is like kind of like a fancy water softener system to handle it all. So $15,000 unbudgeted dollars later, we were back in business. But as you can see, 2013 was a rough year. And I was certainly glad to see it in the rearview mirror. 2014, on the other hand, wow, what a relief. It was a totally different experience. Now I thought what I would do in talking about 2014 is take a little bit different approach to it. I'm not going to tell you what happened during 2014. I'm going to tell you more about who we are and what we do. Because a lot of people will come up to me and they'll say, "Hey John, how are things over at your school?" "We're not a school." "What do you mean? You've got teachers and classrooms, don't you?" "No, we're not a school." "Well, what are you then? Is it just an orphanage?" "Well, in a way, but it's a lot more than that." And so people don't understand. And so what's important to me, as I told you earlier, what's important to me is that you understand what it is that you're supporting. And so what we are, in the dialect, in Tagalog, Lingap means something like compassionate care. That's the literal translation of Lingap. It also means crisis center. It also means to help. Okay? And so what we really do, what does the Lingap Center do? We rebuild lives. And we give the kids hope. Our social workers, when kids come in, kids may be with us for a short time, like if there's a court case going on. and they're in crisis, their family situation is a disaster, we may have them for 2 weeks, we may have them a month, we may have them 12 years. We really don't know. Sometimes they come and they go, and Doug Wernicke, this is why I've said we don't have a consistent group of kids that march through the process and graduate and go on. Some come, some go, you know, it all depends on their individual situations. And a lot of times the kids come to us, they're born on the provinces, and they don't go to the hospital, there's not a doctor standing by, they're just born in the province. And since they're way out in the middle of nowhere, there's no birth records. So when they come to us, we may say, well, what's the name of this child? Well, we don't really know for sure. Well, how old are they? Well, we aren't sure. And so what our social workers do is every time we have a child that comes in, they go out and they do a case study on it. And they try to put together for our records an identity for these kids. When we're finished, they've got a birth certificate, they've got baptismal records, they've got all sorts of documentation, because without those things, they can't go to school. They could never work. They can't get a passport. They can't do any of those things. And so when we get these children, not always, but once in a while when we get these kids, you know, we have to build a life for them. And so that's what our social workers spend a lot of time doing, is studying the family situation. They interview relatives, neighbors, clergy, whoever it takes to try to figure out what's the story with these individual kids. If we have 100 kids at the center, there's 100 different stories. They're all different. Now I want to tell you about these two. This is Jubilin and Jomel. Some of the stories aren't very pretty. I think this will be my last presentation ever. I don't know if I can get through these. Jubilin and Jomel, there were 4 siblings, 3 girls and a boy. The father died, and so the mother found a new man and just left. Just dropped him and left. The aunt, the mother's sister, was nearby, and so the kids had no place to go, so they stayed with the aunt. Well, the aunt made her livelihood by making knitted things to sell as souvenirs to tourists. And so what she did is she was very angry with the mother that she dumped these kids. And so she put the 4 of them to work, knitting souvenirs. She made them work day and night. Long, long, long hours. And they're only 5 years old, 4 years old. And if they didn't, she would beat them up severely. Well, the older sister couldn't take it anymore, and she ran away. And we don't know where she is. But Jubilin, Jomel, and their other brother, Junray, are now at the center. In trying to figure out what was the story with those kids, social workers went out, interviewed everybody. And what we found out was that her mother moved to Manila, had a whole new family with her new man, and this is what breaks my heart. And so if I'm choked up, this is the reason why. She named her firstborn daughter Jubilin. She even took her name. Can you believe that? This is Angeline. Angeline was abandoned, similar to the first one, just abandoned, and wandered around. She and her sister, the 2 girls, wandered around in the squatter village, just sleeping on the street, begging for food. until we pick them up. At least they have each other. And they've got you. This is Marlex. Marlex was clearly a special needs kid. We got him when he was about 4, malnourished, had everything you can imagine, worms, lice, everything. And he wasn't clearly special, he was clearly special needs. We took him to a hospital down in Cebu City and said, check the kid out. Is there anything we can do for him because he's not right, And they said, well, you've got to give him an MRI and a CAT scan, and you've got to do all these kinds of things. I even talked to a brain surgeon, what do they call it, neurological surgeon in Houston, trying to figure out some sort of approach that we could take with Marlex. And the things that we had to do were incredibly expensive. And we couldn't afford to do it. We couldn't. And so Marlex was just toast. I mean, he had no future at all. So what we did is we put him in the center and we fed him. And we loved him. And he's now as normal as you and me. He can speak English. There's not a thing in the world wrong with him. It was malnutrition. It was just the lack of anybody caring for him. So that's kind of the stuff that the Lingap Center does. Mary Joy. She graduated from high school yesterday. She has a skin pigmentation problem. And as a result, in that heat over there, she wears long sleeve sweatshirts and everything all the time because she has very, very low self-esteem. She's very self-conscious. She's a brilliant little girl, and she won a lot of awards in school, but she refused to accept any of them because she would have to go up on stage to receive her award. That's how low her self-esteem was. Well, we participated in a creative writing contest through the Peace Corps in Manila. There were 804 applicants, and she scored the top. She won. As a result, I met with the Peace Corps, and I said, wouldn't it be great to help build her self-esteem if we could make this really special? And so the Peace Corps worked with us, and they put together a very special awards ceremony in Manila, which is happening tomorrow. So today she's flying to Manila, and at the Peace Corps office in Manila, they've got pictures of her up all over the place. And it's going to be a big deal. All of the people from the Peace Corps are going to congratulate her, everything. And when she goes back, she's then going to be able to tell all the kids, look at what education can do for you. Look what it did for me. And in the process, hopefully it will help to build her self-esteem. She's a brilliant little girl. This is what the Lingap Center does. This is an area we have at the center. The little building in the back there, it's called a payag. And the Philippines is a very noisy place. But this is in the back of our garden. And the payag is just a little nipa hut where when the kids are having a bad day, and remember, these kids have got a lot of baggage with them. And if they're having a bad day, we can go out there and our social workers, our counselor, can just sit down and talk to them. Just to be there for them. That place is a little miracle all by itself. We're a family. The Lingap Center is a family. This is Sonny Boy and Jessa. Sonny Boy is 12. He's been with us a long time. He's got an older brother, Gefford, who I thought was a special needs child. He's only second or third in his class now. But that's malnutrition. Their mother is mentally challenged. And so along comes Jessa, that's their sister. She's 5. She was living with the mentally challenged mother. And the mother made Jessa carry buckets of water every day up a hill. They live way up high in the hill, and she made Jessa carry this water or she would beat her. And so we now have Jessa. Well, Jessel was terrified, absolutely terrified. She's never lived in a place like this. She was scared to death. And the only one who was able to help her through this was Sonny Boy, her brother. She doesn't know how to use silverware. She ate like an animal. And so Sonny Boy is teaching her, but the thing that I took this picture, the thing that struck me was the love, the dedication that Sonny Boy had for his sister. She's doing a lot better. She's now able to stay with the younger girls, and she's doing just fine. But without Sonny Boy, it wouldn't have happened. We're a family. This is an old picture. It's Richie Boy. Richie Boy and his older brother, Richard, were badly abused. Very, very badly abused. And I won't even go into that, to the point where one of them couldn't even walk. Richard, somehow or another, a few years ago, made his way to the Lingap Center, so we had him. Well, Richie Boy was very upset. They lived many kilometers, many miles away from the Lingap Center, and so Richie Boy went looking for his brother. And he came, and he's, sorry. He said, you know, is my brother here? Yes, he is. And they were reunited, and they're still together. That's a happy ending story. And I said we're a family. You see, everybody helps take care of everybody else. We eat like a family all the time. Before we eat, they always say the blessing, always. Nobody starts before they eat. You know, before we say the blessing, nobody even thinks about it. And it's not that they're told not to, they just don't. And you know, another thing that's really interesting is I have never ever heard one of the kids say, I'm not going to eat that. Nobody. Not once, ever. And you see, the kids take care of everything. The kids do everything. There they are washing their clothes. We educate. We're not a school, but we educate the kids. This is Nilo. Nilo is our maintenance guy. He used to work for us at the plant in Toledo City. And he was a welder. And when I did the Lingap Center, I hired Nilo as our maintenance guy. And Nilo doesn't even know it. Nilo can fix anything. I mean, give me something, and he can fix it. If it's not broken, we'll break it, and he can fix it. He can fix anything. And so what he does is he works at his own pace. He's very methodical. And he's welding, and the kids will come along and say, well, what are you doing? And just welding. And then I'll hand it to them, and they start welding. Our kids can actually weld. There's a shipyard not far away in Balamban who hires welders. Our kids have got a leg up. I know the fellow who provides all of the welders for the shipyard, and he will take our kids and put them into the program because of that. That's Nilo. Nilo doesn't know he's teaching them. They don't know they're learning. It's great. This is our commercial cooking class. This is Edgar right here. He's our cook, and he used to be a cook at some of the luxury resort hotels in Cebu. And he came in and he teaches the boys mostly. There's a few girls. And there's one of the girls right there. But he teaches them how to bake cakes, pastries, and what happened is the kids set up a business. They didn't hire, but one of them is the president, one's the treasurer, one is the advertising person, the marketing person, and they go out and they market and sell their stuff in the community. And what we do is we divide the proceeds three ways. 1/3 of it comes back to us for the supplies, you know, the flour and that kind of stuff. 1/3 of it comes to us as a part of a Lingap sustainability project. And the other 1/3 we put into their account. And we have our own little co-op at the center, and so the kids are saving their own money so that when they finally leave us, they've got a little money to take with them. and they're really good. In fact, they're kind of a victim of their own success because they're having trouble keeping up with all of their sales. That's a better picture of Edgar the cook. These are some of their wedding cakes. And it's the boys that do this stuff. I mean, some of the girls, but mostly the boys. But these are not bad, are they? We go to school. All of the kids are in school. A lot of the kids in the early days were not even allowed to go to school if they didn't have a birth certificate or couldn't afford a uniform. All of our kids go to school. In fact, yesterday, I just got an email this morning, 8 of our kids graduated from high school. And they line up to get ready to go to school. And off we go. We garden. We have a beautiful garden. They get up usually pretty early in the morning and work in the garden before they go to school. We have eggplant. And eggplant.
Yeah.
And a lot of eggplant. Kids like eggplant, don't they? Yeah.
Not for long.
This is Rona Elidora. She just graduated from college. I'll show you a picture of her in a minute, with a degree in horticulture. We pray together. The kids pray the rosary every night before they go to bed. Nobody, by the way, nobody makes them do it. They just do. This is Richard. I mentioned Richard a little bit earlier, but he was a street beggar and now he's an altar server. Richard, by the way, this is a fairly old picture. He is now still in school, and if they're still in school but they're too old to live with the little kids, we have them in an independent living situation. Remember I said every situation is different, and if they're 19 years old, they can't be living with a 4-year-old. And so we get some boarding houses, and they live in the boarding house as long as they're in a school program. And so Richard is still in school, but he's in independent living. Oh, by the way, Richie boy, his goal in life is to become a priest. We are the official choir at the church. We reach out to those who are less fortunate than ourselves. Father Jeff Rose comes over with me periodically, and when he does, we go out to some of the squatter villages and celebrate Mass, because nobody ever, no priest ever goes, never goes to the squatter villages, not ever. Never. Those people are the untouchables. And so Father Jeff and I will go out and we will do celebrate Mass in the squatter village, and those are really something. And this is a true story. The people, because we invite them in for our third Saturday outreach as well, they thought that God was speaking to them through us. And as a result, they took what little savings they had and they built a chapel because of us. Fresh water in Lingap. This is a little village, a little squatter village. It's built on a fly ash pond from the old power plants. And they had no water. The nearest water was about 2 kilometers away. And they carried it every day in buckets for years. And so I was talking out there and I said, we're going to fix this and we're going to put in bio-sand filters so they at least have fresh water. Well, the vice president of Atlas Fertilizer, where the village is located, is a friend of mine. And he heard that I was going to do that. And so before I was able to get around and do it, he wanted to beat me to the punch. And he had fresh water piped out to Lingap. And so if not for Lingap, they wouldn't have water. This is our street ed program. This happens to be in Lingap, but we do feed the kids. Whenever we do a street ed program, we give them some food. My logic is that they can't learn if they're hungry. And so when they finish their lessons, we do give them some food. This little girl here in the blue shirt on the end, she's deaf. She can't hear anything. And I really worry about her. I'm not sure what's going to happen with her. Reaching out to those less fortunate, the street kids. This is the church in town, but every year we hold a Christmas party for the street kids. We try to include them and give them a reason to live and to try and to achieve. Such things as Sinulog, which is a big national festival over there. And they have parades and everything that go on, and the Lingap kids march in the parade. And so now we always try to include the street kids in the parade as well, so that they don't just have to stand on the street and watch it go by. We're trying to help them to feel included. This is Ligaya. Ligaya is our oldest street child. She's 70. And Ligaya is clearly challenged. And she could never write her name. She could never write her name. And so they've been working with her. You see she's doing her coloring. But they've been working with her, and Ligaya can now write her name. She is so proud. Now this picture doesn't look like it, but we gave her, it's called a pillowcase dress. And she doesn't look very happy because the camera, I think, scared her. But the day we gave her the pillowcase dress, that's probably the first new dress she ever had. And she was queen for a day. And if you could have seen her get that new dress, you would have understood clearly what this whole thing is all about. We made a difference in her life. On Fridays, every Friday, the street kids, we take them to the church where they have catechism classes. And so here they are in church, and the instructor up there, her name is Jane, and she is probably one of the most charismatic instructors that ever was. The kids are just mesmerized when she speaks. They are absolutely silent and mesmerized when she teaches them. And she's totally blind. She can't see her hand in front of her face. But she's brilliant. Judy went up to her once and introduced herself, and she says, "Oh yes, I remember you. I met you back on August 23rd of 2006. Didn't you? This is another picture of Jane, and notice in the red shirt in the front row, that's Ligaya. She never misses. Third Saturday outreach. What we do here is we do a children's mass at the center once a month. It's on the third Saturday of every month. And I told the priest if he would do that, what I would do is I would invite all the impoverished kids in the community to come in, and I'll even feed them if he will come out and do this mass. And so he does. And on this particular day, this was in January of 2011, we had the most we ever had attend an event, and there were over 5,000 children present. There were over 5,000 children present. Now, usually our numbers are around 200 or 300 or 400. It all depends on the weather and a lot of other things, but we've had as many as 5,000. Our consistent message through this whole thing and everything I try to tell the kids is that helping others is the greatest gift you can give to yourself. That's what I said earlier. We repeat this over and over, and I think the kids are starting to get it. We celebrate together. That's a picture of Margie Ladamo. I took this picture back in 2002. I think this was my first visit to the Lingap Center. In fact, look at that. I'll be darned. That's Eileen.
That's me? Yes,
That's you.
I know.
This is Margie Ladamo. That's Margie getting her bachelor's degree. She's now a cook at the Marriott Hotel in Cebu City. This is Marmee getting her degree in advertising. She's the housekeeping coordinator for the Marriott Hotel in Cebu City. This is Jeffrey with his broken arm, and he just got his associate's degree in electrical engineering, and he's going on for his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. This is Jenny Marie, and she went to a vocational school and got a certificate in cosmetology, and she's now working in a parlor in Lapu-Lapu City. This is Jessel. Jessel's been with us since the very beginning. She's the older sister of the twins, which you've heard me talk about. And she got her degree in agriculture with a specialty on animals. She just got this a week ago. She just graduated a week ago. This is Rona. Rona Elidora. She tells people that her real name is Rona Elidora Drake. She got her degree in horticulture, plants. She's very gifted. She had done a 6-month internship in the Netherlands. Now remember, none of this would have happened without you guys, none of it. This is Mark J. Tabo. Mark J. came to me, and Mark was very shy, very quiet, and he came to me and he said, I want to get a degree in marine engineering. And I said, I don't think so. I don't know, because I thought Mark was a little on the slow side. And, but no, I really want to do this. So he, all right, let's give it a try and see what happens. So I went to the, I think, the University of Cebu and got in marine engineering. We got him a scholarship through Negros Navigation. And he didn't finish at the top of his class. He might have been third or fourth. See, I'm not a good judge of character. But anyway, then he has to do, so he got his degree, so he has his degree now. But in order to become licensed, he has to do a year-long internship aboard ship somewhere. And so the big shipping companies they all apply for, one of the biggest premier container ship companies in the world is Maersk. And if you watch the movie Captain Phillips, that was a Maersk ship that he was on. But Maersk is the premier #1, like, gosh, if you could do that. Well, it was competitive testing, and Mark J. tried out for it, and he got it. And so Mark J. will be leaving us soon and going to sea for a year aboard the Maersk ships. Well, of course, here's the twins. They graduated from preschool. And they were pretty happy. Okay, now this has nothing to do with anything, but I'm proud of our kitchen, so I'm going to show you the kitchen, whether you like it or not. This is the kitchen at the old Lingap Center, the old pig slaughterhouse. That was where we washed the dishes, we cooked the fish, we cleaned everything. There it is. This is the kitchen there. When we moved into the new Lingap Center, I was pretty happy. This was the kitchen at the new center, and I was pretty proud of that. That looked pretty good, don't you think? Yes. Step up. This is our new kitchen. I just did this. This is about a picture that's about 2 months old. Right there, David. And everything is stainless steel, bright lights, everything is white. It's very clean, and of course that's Edgar, our cook. So we're stepping up in the world, so I'm pretty proud of that. So thank you for indulging me. Okay, I thought you might find this to be interesting. We do the Christmas card every year. Most everybody got our 2014 Christmas card. All the kids are all nicely lined up and looking very happy. Everything, remember that? Okay, here's the trick behind that. This is Georgia, one of our social workers with the kids. That's Jubilant down there. Here's the staff getting ready. You know, we're waiting for the photographer to arrive. Getting them lined up. People have said to me, gosh, those are beautiful trees in the background. What kind of trees are those anyway? Well, actually, the kids made those. They took little pink pieces of pink and white cloth, tied them together and wired it to sticks, and they made the trees. But you're just like, okay, you might be interested at 6 a.m. because we found that they're a little more flexible when they're slow. They haven't gotten energized just yet. Okay, so here we're lining up, threatening with their, okay, now smile, you know. And then that's the picture. And I'll give anybody a free coupon for the drawing if you can find me in the picture. Okay, and that's the staff. Of course, that's the fat guy there in the middle is me. And the Lingap Children's Foundation is a top-rated nonprofit by great nonprofits from 2012, 13, 14, and 2015. So that's good news. And we were just reaccredited by the Department of Social Welfare and Development for 4 years. That's pretty good too, so we're pretty happy with that. Now, thank you. Now I'd like to take you back in time, just quickly, to our beginnings. This is the old Lingap Center, the old pig slaughterhouse. And this is February of 2002. And here's the kids. This was my first visit there. It was the first time I was ever at the center. And these are the kids that were there at the time. Oh, there they go. This is little Eileen. Sit next to. There's Eileen and her brother, Edmar. This is Eileen with her Batman shirt on. This is when we built the new Lingap Center. This was in 2005. We had to have a supervisor, somebody to oversee the construction. And so Eileen was there supervising the work crews. And there she is doing that. This is Eileen graduating from 6th grade, studying. That's Eileen with some of the younger kids. And this is... If I didn't mention that I was pretty proud of Eileen, I am.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
I was here 10 years ago during a fundraising event, and some of you people know about me and some of course doesn't know. And I apologize to some of you who came to me and I was like, oh, what is this? And I just couldn't recognize you, and that was a long time. I came to the Lingap Center 2002 when I was 8, and that was when I met Mr. Jendrik, the white guy. And I was scared because it's unusual for us to see a white guy. So I spent my elementary years, graduate high school, and I graduated as a Bachelor of Science in Tourism Management in University of San Carlos, which is in downtown Cebu. I had my internship at Baltimore Country Club. I got here last year, March 27, and had a year-long internship at the Baltimore Country Club, and I work at the food and beverage team and work at the accounting office too. So I just finished my internship last March this year, and now I'm going back Philippines this last week of April. So I'm just gonna share you a little bit of my story. I have 8 brothers and I'm the only girl of the family. My father was jobless and my mother was a freelance photographer. Her income did not make much for a big family like us. Year 2002, after giving birth of our youngest brother Jason, she got pneumonia and got paralyzed. I was only a child then without any hopes and had no idea of the world. At the age of 8, I could only remember my mother's lovely face, her soft hands touching my face as it, sorry. Her soft hands touching my face as innocent as a lamb, saying, "My daughter, I could not give you a better life. I could not send you to school, and Mama is even dying. Mama can even pay the bills, so she told me that I'm gonna go somewhere where they can take care of me." I was sobbing really hard because I didn't want to go away from my family. I didn't want to go away from her. To calm me down, she promised that she's gonna take me back when everything is well and she's well. But that promise didn't last long. She died a few days after I was brought to my new home, the Lingap Center. I'm really thankful to her because she brought me to this home where they provided me everything. Food for my mind, body and soul, and most especially education. After all those years of staying at the Lingap Center, with all these good and bad memories that I had, I want to share this with you of how great God is. For He sends people as His instruments to provide life-changing experiences to those who are hopeless. Life is filled with so many exciting twists and turns, but know that life is a great teacher. As we traverse this journey called life, we face challenges. It is not easy to face every hardship with a smile, but we need to remember that in every hardship we emerge stronger, because know that God is always there waiting for us. You just have to kneel down and pray. So all these things happened without, is not possible without all of you. I want to say thank you to Tito John for always being there, for a great father, and for accepting me to your family, and to your family in return for the endless support that they have given unto you and to the Lingap kids. And most especially to every one of you here who's been supporting us and helping us all through the way. Thank you. God bless you.